Hey, hello all, welcome to Science Books Review. In this video, I'm going to review the book named Chronicles of Narnia, written by C.S.LEWIS. This novel does contain 7 stories in it, and I have finished reading this book just right now, and I'm really very excited to share my thoughts. So, I want to split this video into 2 sections. First of all, I want to give a review for the overall series, and then I want to give one short review for every individual books been out there. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. And before mentioning my overall review for the series, I do want to mention the time span I have taken in order to complete this whole series. And it's been 2 years by now, and it's been a very long time. In this time period, I have finished reading the Wheel of Time series and all the 10 books by Joe Abercrombie and It book by Stephen King. So yeah, I didn't manage to love this novel as I would have expected. Whenever I do started to read this one, I easily got sidetracked by some other series. Like I do allotted a lot of time for a Wheel of Time series, even though I am extremely frustrated at some point in time. Even in that time period, I didn't manage to love this one as I do have expected, and it doesn't hold it up to the today's standard. I mean, a lot of the rings does manage to hold up on some aspects, but this one felt really very traditional one. And yes, the thoughts of C.S. Lewis does differs from the people of a modern age on a very wider angle, to be honest. And I mean, the in the last 30 or 40 years, human life has been evolved on a whole next level, right? With the access of the internet, everyone does manage to understand what is been going on around the world, and they are not short-minded. They are open to accept any culture around the world, right? But this one, I mean, C.S. Lewis, he's a theist, and I didn't manage to love this book because I didn't actually believe in God. Hope my parents are not watching this video. Anyway, I mean, lot of his ideologies just suits the Holy Bible, which has been written 2000 years back, and he does accepted all those words as an holy one, and some of his plot narration and some of his ideologies are extremely frustrating to read. For example, in the last book, The Last Battle, and Aslan doesn't accepted Susan in his world just because she does used lipstick and she does wanted to look like a grown woman. I mean, there are a lot more crimes has been going on around this world, right? Just because you are using a lipstick and wanting to look like a grown woman, is what God does expect from us in order to go to the heaven. I mean, I didn't manage to love some of his ideologies, and I do hate them. Some of the stuffs mentioned here are really very cute to read, to be honest. And I'm not saying that this series is actually bad. I mean, it has been written really very well for the age it's been up to, and it has been written in 1957, I do think so. And up to that age, maybe this would have been a trademark. And in this time period, only Lord of the Rings does came up, and the concept of a fantasy world doesn't exist in this world, right? So anyway, I would give respect to him on all these aspects. But anyway, I don't see all these 7 stories as novels at all. I do think these things does felt like an enhanced version of fairy tales. Uh, I've been complaining a lot about this book, but yes, if it's been focused in order to entertain the children's, right? And yes, I think anyone who has been a really very beginner in their reading journey would love this. But if you have read some high fantasy novels, I don't think you would manage to love this one on any aspects. I mean, after reading Joe Abercrombie stuffs, I mean, my entire process thinking, everything does change. I mean, if I would have read this one 2 years back, maybe I would have respected this book a bit more. But right now, it does felt really very out of date, and I just completed this book just because I do have bought this one. Didn't manage to love this one on any aspects. So, but yeah, some of the stories are good. I mean, the first, second, and the fifth stories in the series are really very great in my eyes. But other than that, lot of the stories are really very cheap. So yeah, that's all about the review. I would give the rating of a 2 out of a 5 for this book. I mean, I still respect this, but yes, I want to give my true feelings out here, right? So yeah, 2 out of 5 would be really very fine. And want to mention about this product. I don't know whether this has been available in Amazon website right now, and I do bought this one for 700 Indian rupees. So yeah, it has been worth for the cost, and a really very big book to be honest. So yeah, and if you want an individual review for all these stories, do continue watching this video. And if you don't, yeah, happy to meet you. And yeah, see you soon. Happy reading to you all. So now let's get into the individual book reviews. The first story is being named The Magician's Nephew. This story does starts off with the two characters named Diggory and Polly, and they have been teleported into the world of Narnia by accidentally examining one of the rings which his uncle has made, and they have been assigned a task in order to deal with the witch of this Narnia world, and how they do manage to find a solution for that. You gotta need to read and figure out. And I don't know why they didn't manage to convert this into a television film. I really love this book to be honest, and there are a lot of interesting aspects being incorporated here. The talking creatures, and this is where the Chronicles of Narnia world is being made by Aslan, where every animal does begin to talk to each other. And this story does have an Adam and Eve biblical references into it. And overall, I do love this book on a whole. And I don't know why they didn't manage to convert it into a television movie. Maybe because the Lion and the Witch story has been a really very popular in those days. But yeah, nonetheless, this is a really very good. I mean, it is a perfect way to start the series, to be honest. I would give a rating of 5 out of 5 for this one. And the next book is The Lion and the Witch. I don't think there is any need for any introduction to the story, right? I mean, everyone in this world at some point in a time would have looked upon the story in one way or the another. And yeah, this is lovable. And I do think the book version is somewhat a little bit better than the movie, where the actors or the child actors are not up to the mark. But yeah, the book is somewhat really very perfect, and give it a try. I don't think you may love this one. I don't know when I've been in my first grade or the third grade. I don't know well, but in those days, everyone does in my classroom does discusses movie scenes, right? In those times, this has been really very popular, and I've been in the southernmost part of India, and even here we doesn't manage to have a lot of inferences from the story, and there are a lot of kids been out there who would mention the story as in a Hollywood way. Anyway, good days those are. I would give a rating of a 5 out of a 5 for this one. Really lovable and enjoyable, to be honest. And the next story, The Horse and the Boy. And this incident took place 20 years after the occurrence of The Lion and the Witch, where all the four siblings has been ruling the Narnia world. But we have been introduced to a whole new set of POV characters here, and Shasta and Artie. And after a very long time, it has been known that Shasta is one of the prince who was promised for the Arkan land, and Aslan has been guiding this man to his victory. So yeah, at last he does manage to fight against his rebel nation, and they do prolong their friendship with the Narnia nation. And this book is a trash, to be honest. I don't know. I think I would have spent more than 15 months in order to complete this book, to be honest. I mean, whether it is been a standalone book or an 15 book or 14 book series, you gotta need to define the purpose for all these characters, and you gotta need to give a vague idea on what this story is been all about. But here, all these characters been hopelessly wandering around here and there, and we didn't able to understand what their actual purpose has been. It's been defined only in the final 20% of the book, and at that point in time, I've lost all my interest in the story, and yeah, it's not at all lovable, to be honest. I would suggest you to skip the story. It doesn't add anything to the upcoming stories too. So if you do want to read this one. But if you want to enjoy, this is not a place, to be honest. And I would give a rating of 1 out of 5. Yeah. Next is the story named The Prince Caspian, and all these four siblings from the real world again gets teleported into the world of Narnia, and there are a lot of politics being upon this world, and there are several hundred years being passed upon, and Aslan didn't show up for a very long time, and they do figure out that they got a need to help the Prince Caspian in order to achieve his throne, and yeah, that's how the plot moves on, and this has been also converted into an movie, and this is the second Chronicles of Narnia movie, I do think so, and yes, this is lovable on some way, and but this story is way more simple than I do have expected. I mean, the movie has been slightly complex. They do added here and there a bit of added on value to it, and that is how I do manage to love the movie. But here, the story has been really very simple, and C.S.LEWIS does took away 50% of the story time just in order to explain what does happen in the world of Narnia all these times. So, at some point in time, I do thought this is an hopeless wandering, but overall, I do think it is still enjoyable. I would give a rating of a 4 out of a 5 for this one. And the fourth story is The Voyage and the Dawn Trader. And here, a new character has been introduced into the storyline, Eustace, and he has been teleported into the world of Narnia along with Edmund and Lucy, and they have been set into a journey to the very end of the world, and uh, this story doesn't have any purpose in here, but yes, still the journey is somewhat really very enjoyable, but I still don't know why Prince Caspian wanted to go to the very end of this world. That has been answered, but yes, the answer is not actually really very convincing, but the very end of the story is somewhat really very emotional. It does case in my heart, but on an overall case, I'm slightly disappointed. I would give a rating of 3 out of 5 for this one. And the next story is The Silver Chair, and here this incident took place 40 years after the occurrence of The Voyage and the Dawn Trader, and here a new character has been introduced, Jill Pori, and along with Ace, they have been introduced into the world of Narnia, and they have been a set of an task that they got a need to find the fallen prince Rillian, and they got a need to give the throne of Narnia to him. So they do manage to face a lot of obstacles along with the Pattlegram, who has been a voyager in this world or some sort, and they do manage to find where the prince has been, and finally they do manage to succeed in their task. And this one is somewhat really very mixed. I don't know, sometimes I do felt that this story doesn't deserve a 4 out of 5. On the other time, I do felt 2 out of 5 here. In the story, the purpose of all these characters being defined pretty well. That is a positive one, and there are a lot of magical creatures has been explained out here, or really very lovable to note. But on the other extent, there are a major part of the time I do thought the story has been wandering here and there without any direction to move on. So, but yeah, overall it is lovable, and the ending is somewhat really very emotional, a little bit emotional, and yeah, you may love this one, and you may hate this one too. I don't know how to rate this book, to be honest. So yeah, I would give a safe option of a 3 out of 5 for this one. And the next story, the final one, is the Lost Battle. And this incident took place 200 years after the occurrence of the silver chair. And here, an ape does decided to cheat all the animals in the world of Narnia by projecting his fellow donkey along with the help of a dead lion's coat, and they do projected the donkey as the Aslan, and the God's wrath has been fell upon this world, and the Narnia does manage to get to the end, and the new life does arises by the very end of the story. And I do hate this storyline for only one thing, which I do have already mentioned in the overall book review. And I didn't expect that this ending from C.S. Lewis, to be honest. I do thought C.S. Lewis would take a conservative approach, and he yes, his main focus of our audience has been children's, right? So I do thought he would be really very conservative, but this story is a short book about the Revelation chapter in the Bible, and yeah, the ending is somewhat really very emotional, to be honest. I really loved the ending, and got a need to accept that C.S. Lewis does manage to surprise me with the end, and yeah, it's really very realistic, according to the terms of the Narnia nation. So yeah, overall, I do love this one, and I would give a solid 5 out of 5 here. They have ended this series pretty well, even though there are some ideologies which I got a need to differ from C.S. Lewis. Overall, I do think it's worth the try if you are a beginner, but if you have been a long way into the fantasy reading journey, I don't think you may love this one. So yeah, that's all about this review. Hope you guys all have enjoyed this. If you do have any criticism for this video, feel free to mention that in the comment section. I will change myself. So yeah, that's all. We'll meet you soon in the next week with another book review. So until then, happy reading to you. Cheers.